Welcome to the Voice of Retail. I'm your host, Michael LeBlanc. This podcast is brought to you in conjunction with Retail Council of Canada. Warehouse automation has reached new heights in the pandemic, and it doesn't seem to be stopping here. While COVID has created a host of supply chain challenges, it also underscored essential opportunities for innovation. From climbing robots to increasing demand for reflexive and dynamic warehouses, we get to the bottom, or rather the top, of the modern retail e-commerce warehouse. In this episode of The Voice of Retail, I sit down with the CEO of Exotec Robotics, Romain Moulin, to talk about the past, present, and future of warehouse automation. We discuss the accelerated need for agile warehouses, how their Skypod Systems climbing robots are redefining warehouses from architecture to operations, and when investing in automation is right for you as a retailer.
If we look to the warehouse and the supply chain from a scale from 1 to 10, we are at 1. I think there is 10 times more to be done in the supply chain with the robotics that we have today. As I said, it's very manual still, and there is a value added to be brought in the supply chain with that.
Let's listen in now. Romain, welcome to the Voice of Retail podcast. How are you doing this afternoon?
Very good, thank you. And thank you for having me there.
Well, I'm excited to hear about you and your company. It's a very intriguing part of retail and the retail supply chain. I know retailers around the world, here in Canada and the US, are very interested to learn more about how, given the advancement of e-commerce, how they can get more efficient and effective. And so much to talk about. Let's start with you. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Who are you? How did you get to do what you do? And what do you do at Exotec?
So I'm founder of Exotec, and we are two founders. The second founder is Renaud Hayes. How we created Exotec? In fact, we were a robotics engineer working for supply chain, but also for General Electric, GE Healthcare, doing medical robots. But we wanted to get back in supply chain, and we saw that robotics could bring a lot of value in the warehouse, and everything that we learned into this advanced robotics, we could use it in the warehouse to do a more performant system for the supply chain, but also not very flexible system. So performance and flexibility is what we wanted to bring. So we started the company in 2015, and at that moment, Amazon announced that they would shut down the sales department of Kiva System. Kiva System,
right.
Small orange robot. It's a company that they bought a few years before, and they announced that they would keep that technology only for them. And in fact, that was the starting point of Renaud and myself thinking about what we could do to the warehouse.
That was a big moment, I know, for everyone. I actually know someone here in Canada who had the Kiva system, and they still have them, but of course you can't get parts. And it's, as you say, Amazon elected to both buy the company and then take that technology internally. So I guess, as you say, for you, it created that moment where you said, aha, there's an opportunity to do something similar, bring robotics to efficiency, right? And you've got customers. I was reading through some of your literature. I think you deal now with Carrefour, Gap. So you've got a nice bit of retail background, right? And that's since 2015, you said. That was that kind of moment where you launched the company, yeah?
Yeah, when we started the company, we went and discussed with a lot of retailers, of warehouse managers, and they confirmed to us what we felt with this Amazon story. It was that robotics could change the game. As you said, we discussed with Carrefour, and we then sold systems to Carrefour, with Gap, with Ariat, doing eCommerce with Decathlon, a sports retailer, with Uniqlo, apparel. So we have discussed with most of the customers, most of the retailers, and they have confirmed what we felt first, is that they wanted to bring the performance in their warehouse, because for them, supply chain is a weapon, I think. And that's what retailers have understood the last 10 years. It's supply chain, in fact, is visible from the end customer point of view. Maybe 30 years ago, supply chain was considered as something that was necessary, but not something that was bringing value. And maybe that's Amazon that showed how much could be brought to the final customer by the supply chain. But at that moment, when we started the company, we saw that everybody was looking for more performance. But the big trouble they have is that they don't really know what will be going in the future. They don't really know what proportion of e-commerce they will do in 4 years, in 5 years. So they need to find systems, robotic systems, which are very easy to modify if necessary. So that you don't take any risk on your future and you build something right now because you know your needs right now. But in 3 years, we come back and we modify the system. And that's really the sense of Exotec, the value added of our system. It's bringing the performance, so you will multiply by 5 the speed of your operators, of your pickers in your warehouse. You can multiply by 5 the density of goods storage. But at the same point, at the same moment, you don't make any assumption on the future. And if a retailer comes to us and say, okay, I have a plus 20% orders to be done in my warehouse, then we come back and we say, okay, let's add 20% robots. And with such system, you can add robots, you can add storage. These systems are easy to scale and they have been designed to live with the customer. They are deployed for 10 to 15 years. So they need to be modified. They need to live so that we follow the supply chain need of our customers.
It's so interesting what you describe as around customers understanding supply chain. If they didn't understand it because of Amazon, they certainly understood it because of COVID. I mean, the word supply chain, as you say, you're exactly correct. 15 years ago, you would never hear a consumer say the word supply chain or even know or care what that meant. But now we're also aware of it. Now, we don't have the benefit, this being a podcast, of videos. I will put in the show link some videos so that the listeners can go and check out visually what your robots do. But can you do us a favor and kind of try to describe, I think many retailers would be familiar with the mobile kind of Kiva system, but I saw videos of picking and all kinds of interesting things. So unpack that for us, if you could describe that a little bit about what your systems do that makes it so efficient and makes it so flexible.
Yes, maybe I will start with a purely manual warehouse. So in fact, 90% of the warehouses are manual. And in a purely manual warehouse, you have operators, which are called the picker, which needs to find the articles to gather your orders. And they will walk up to 10 miles a day to find different articles, to put them in a box and to send them to you. The idea of our system is to say to the picker, stay here. I will send the robots, go and get the goods that you need. So the robot will move around on the floor of the warehouse. And at some point, and that's really the big stuff of Exotec, the robot will grip a shelving and will climb up to 10 meters to take the articles, bring them down back to the operator. So when you are the operator, you don't look anymore for the articles. You have an army of robots which are at your service. And they are bringing you these goods so that you can go really fast in preparing the orders. And as the robots are able to move in 3 dimensions in the storage, we get a very dense storage and we can stack goods up to the ceiling.
That's very interesting because in a traditional, let's call it Kiva system, the robots are moving the shelves around and then there's a pick to light process to the picker, right? But what you're describing is something more dense where the robot, if I get you correctly, is choosing the item to bring to the packer versus, a shelf full of 30 things with a pick to light system. Am I getting that correct?
Yeah, the robots are moving small boxes, so 30 kilogram boxes instead of a huge shelving of 300 kilograms. The robots are smaller and they can climb up to 10 meters. So if you see a manual storage or a Kiva system storage from Amazon, they will be 2 meters high.
And you call it the Skypod, and I guess your system is flexible so that it can go into a warehouse, but it sounds like with its density, you could also put that system into, adapt it into the back rooms of dark stores or gray stores where they, try to optimize some inventory.
Exactly.
Interesting.
You are right. We see more and more that trend of trying to get the warehouses closer from the cities because From a reactivity and a transportation point of view, it's interesting to get closer from your end customer. And with such technology, you can do really small warehouses, really small system that you can bring in very small room, and sometimes it's even a dark room, as you say, next to a supermarket. Yeah.
Well, that's so interesting. So you recently, congratulations, you received a $90 million funding round. I guess that's what brought us together. Just that caught my eye, and clearly there's investments happening. And you want to bring, as you said, you've got customers like Carrefour, but you're based in France. You want to bring that technology to North America. Are you starting to have those discussions? Is there a lot of interest in advancing supply chain? How's that going for you?
There is a huge need in North America, in Canada, for such a technology. And for us, it's a very interesting market. It's growing fast. It's not that robotized yet. A lot of the supply chain is manual in North America, but it's really getting transformed. So we are already on a market which is growing 15% per year. But on territories like United States or Canada, it's even growing faster than that because the supply chain is transforming at a very high pace. So for us, right, this 90 million that we put in the company was fuel for getting international. We were just starting at that moment USA, but now we have already 3 systems deployed. So it will go very fast for now, and the company is really getting into its international transformation, hiring people in all countries. So it's a very interesting moment for us.
No, very interesting. Now, just one last question about the capabilities. So what kind of items? I mean, typically the pick of items, are we talking mostly hard goods? Do you do food? Apparel, like, just give me a bit of so the listeners can kind of understand, if your solution is right for the commodities that they sell.
Yeah. In retail, most of the goods will fit in our boxes. So apparel, of course, cosmetics, beauty, groceries works very well. As you said, we have system for Carrefour. Can be into industrial part or even medical, pharmaceutical. But so most of the retail, what would not fit is a bike, for instance. But usually, that article, you handle them in a different warehouse because they need specific tools to be manipulated.
Right. So you've been in robotics for a lot of your career. Give me a sense, and give the listeners a sense, on a scale of 1 to 10, where are we with robotics and AI and efficiency, or, from your vision perspective? If 1 is, well, we're here today and we can pick an item, and 10 is closer to what might be the full potential, on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you think we are today, and how fast do you think we're going to get farther along?
If we look to the warehouse and the supply chain, from a scale from 1 to 10, we are at 1. I think there is 10 times more to be done in the supply chain with the robotics that we have today. As I said, it's very manual still, and there is a value added to be brought in the supply chain with that. If you look to robotics in general, I think we are at 0.01, and in the coming years, we will see magic things happen. And what did really change the robotics, that is when internet came, the software, a lot of software came. In fact, in Exotec, if you look to the engineers that we have here, 70% of the company is about software, because you have the robots, then sending the robots at the right moment for the right bin, for the right picker. That's a lot of artificial intelligence and algorithm. So you can bring a lot of value in your robotics thanks to the software. So that's why I think we only scratched the surface of it during the last year. We have many, many things to be done.
Well, it's very exciting. Well, let's hone in on that a little bit. So around the world, certainly in Canada and the US, the COVID era has advanced e-commerce, which is good for your business. Lots more warehouses, or people thinking about how to get goods one each to customers. So, how are you feeling about that, and what are you hearing from your clients around, or prospective clients around moving towards more robotics? I mean, is there great interest in it? Are they saying, I'd like you to be a little farther along, or has the market for your products accelerated equal to the acceleration in e-commerce? What have you been hearing?
Yes, it has accelerated. So all of our system in production, we track them. So we know what performance is delivered by our system. During the COVID, we saw the performance of the system double. The throughput of the warehouse doubled during the COVID. And even after the COVID, is still plus 30% compared to before. So, of course, the e-commerce has boomed with the COVID, and we have seen it in the market need. But what happened also is that I think many companies was thinking about transformation, thinking about getting more and more in e-commerce. And that was before the COVID. So maybe sometimes a bit afraid of getting into it. And after the COVID, no question anymore. They know that the e-commerce is the future. And all the retailers are switching to e-commerce. And they are also confident, because before they were not confident in what would be the part of e-commerce in their between B2C and B2B in their revenue. And now they are really confident on e-commerce, and they are building a supply chain which is tailored for e-commerce. That's really important to have a good supply chain if you want to have an accurate delivery to your end customer.
You know, what jumps out at me about your system is something you said earlier, is adaptability, because I hear from retailers the need to be agile. We don't know what's coming in the future. And, putting a lot of capital into robots only to discover that you need, something different, something bigger, something different in some way, shape, or form a year from today or 2 years from today. That feels like an advantage for you, right? Is that built-in agility something that is gathering interest among your prospective folks and the people you're talking to?
Yes, the system is completely designed for that. It's designed to be deployed on a customer site in 6 months, whereas traditional automation would take at least 18 months. And it's designed to scale very easily. If you want to add performance to the system, we bring robots in, and it takes seconds. The robot will download its software and start to work. If you want to add storage, we will add storage next to the system, and when it's ready, we reboot the system, and the robot will start to go in this new storage. So it's a matter of hours to scale the system and to improve its performance. So it's very convenient for our customer, because, for instance, if we take the one which are switching from a brick and mortar retail to e-commerce, they have a proportion of e-commerce that they don't know what exactly will be in the future. So giving them system that will work if they do 10% e-commerce, if they do 50% e-commerce, for them it's very convenient. They know that they won't have any trouble because of some bad hypotheses they would have made at the beginning.
Yeah, or it's just very difficult to know these days, right? So you have to build in some agility. What is the right blend, do you think, between robotics and people in your experience, in your model? So is there a formula that when you say, listen, as you add robotic technology, you need to add people alongside of it? How do you think about that?
It's important, if you want for the people and the robot to work well, to take time to explain to the people in the warehouse. Some of them are there for a long time. They are used to manual operation. If you just take the time of explaining to the people the transformation of the supply chain, you have very, very good results, because they will help in improving the system, deploying the system. And it's really, the system is really ergonomics compared to manual picking. It's much more convenient to work on our system than to do it manually. From a body stress perspective, it's much better. So people are really happy to use our system, but really from the beginning, we had the best results when our customer took the team to us, showed the system to the team, explained to them what they would do with it, so that when the system is mounted on site, everybody is really happy with it. That's important to accompany the change.
Whether it's your system or another system, what's the right inflection point around volume that makes it make sense? I mean, this is an investment in capital versus people. So what kind of volume should retailers be? If they're hitting volume of X, they should be thinking about a more aggressive move into robotics. Is there a percentage you look at? Look, you need to be sending out 10,000 pieces a day. Because volume, I would understand that volume, as actually you indicated, the more volume, the more efficient it becomes, because the robots can just, you need volume to make the business case make sense. What's that tipping point? That
if you are doing groceries, when you start to have like 500 or 700 orders per day, you can start picking robotics. It makes sense. And if you are doing other retail, I mean 2 pieces per order in average, then you can start using robotics if you do 3,000 orders per day. That is when it's good to look at automation or robotics.
And what's the minimum viable install that you would do? Like a bit of racking and a couple of robots? Like what makes sense? Because there's training and adaptation. Again, I'm trying to give the listeners, we don't have the benefit of visuals. I'm trying to give the listeners a sense of, is this the right solution for them now? Is it
something
the right
interesting with our solution is that it can go from really big with several hundreds of robots. For instance, for Carrefour, we have one site with 200 robots, but you also very small, and we have system with 10 robots. So at 10 robots, you feed one picker. One picker will work at 300 picks per hour. That is a performance KPI for us, and for that you need 10 robots. So it's rather small. 10 robots, 10,000 bins.
Oh, very good. No, that's a nice number and a metric people can start to understand. So back to the future. Last question. What are you most excited about in your business and robotics? Is it the AI software behind it that you're expecting to take it to the next level? What gets you excited about the future in your line of work?
What is exciting in Exotec is really to see the customer, to see their challenges, and to turn their challenges into technical solutions. You can really find a nice mechanical way of having your robots climb on the shelving so that it goes faster. You can find every day, you may find a new solutions to get something more performant or more flexible. And it's the same in software. You can find the nice idea that will decrease your robot, or increase your robot speed by 10%, and then you will the price for the customer by 10%. So a nice idea can have huge impact, and supply chain is a very nice playground for that. Any idea can turn into value added for your end customer. And so what is very nice at Exotec, we have very different customer, and we discuss with many different segments with different changes. So each time we visit a new customer, a new warehouse, it's a pleasure to discover how they do, what they did well, what is challenging for them. It's extremely exciting to go all over the world and see the different chains. Yeah.
Well, it's all very exciting. Thank you for sharing a bit about your company and a bit about warehouse supply chain and robotics. Where can people go to learn more about Exotec and the work that you're doing?
The best is to go on our website. As you said, we have a very visual system. So you go to our website, www.exotec.com, and you will see the video. It's really clear. That's a fairly simple system from outside. Inside, it's a bit more complex, but you can see the robots in action, and it's very nice to be seen. So, yeah, go on our website.
Well, fantastic, Romain. Thank you so much for joining me on The Voice of Retail. It's been great discussing all this, and I wish you much continued success and best of luck as the borders start to open up and you can visit and travel and see people in person. I'm sure you're looking forward to that as we all are, but that's going to happen right around the corner. But in the meantime, thank you so much for joining me on The Voice of Retail. It's great to meet and chat and learn more about you.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of The Voice of Retail. Be sure and follow the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you enjoy podcasts, so you don't miss out on the latest episodes, industry news, and insights. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving a rating review, as it really helps us grow so that we continue to get amazing guests onto the show. I'm your host, Michael LeBlanc, president of Romain LeBlanc Company, Inc., and if you're looking for more content or want to chat, follow me on LinkedIn or visit my website at romainleblanc.co. Until next time, stay safe, have a great week.